UFOs are real, burgeoning, not going away. This is the coming great deception. But when we go up, they come down. When we go up, they show up. I was on Lauren's show yesterday, and we did an hour Q&A. She's asking me about our 10 DVD set, and it's right here, lamarzulli.com. And here's the interview. But first, a word from our trusted sponsor. Here's the hard truth, folks. Every 6 years, your dollar loses half its buying power. That means a $100,000 savings account today could feel like $50,000 by 2031. And you see it every time you fill up your tank, buy groceries, pay the bills. Prices are up, your dollar is down. Folks, there's a simple way to protect the value of your savings with something tangible and real, something proven. It's gold, an asset that holds its value over time. That's why I trust Noble Gold Investments. They make it simple to protect your savings with physical gold or silver. No high-pressure sales, no call centers, just honest guidance, one-on-one support, and transparent pricing. And right now, when you open a qualified account, Noble Gold will send you a free 10-ounce silver American flag bar as a thank you. Head to noblegoldinvestments.com today to learn more. noblegoldinvestments.com. Don't just protect your wealth, preserve its power. Folks, there's always a risk with any type of financial action like this, or I should say transaction, but I'm glad that we invested in gold. And you know what? I'm not a soothsayer here, but it definitely could go over 4,000. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Remember, there's always a risk, but we invested in Noble Gold, and I'm really glad we did. So, folks, here it is. It was a great interview with her, and we spent about an hour going back and forth, and she asked me about the 10-box DVD set, and of course, I gave her all sorts of information. And here's the interview.
Well, welcome to Certainty for Uncertain Times. My name is Lauren, and you probably already know this if you've been here a bit, but this channel is all about helping you navigate through the chaos, the clown world, and the dumpster fire that we all find ourselves living in these days through the lens of the Bible, but we also love to connect all the dots to Bible prophecy on this channel. So if you are somebody who is wanting to deep dive into all of the prophetic narratives and figure out what in the world is going on, then guess what? You are in the right place. And I'm going to ask that you would subscribe to this channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, do all the things so that you can make sure that you are in the know on what's going on inside of this channel. And before we dive into this episode of Voices of Certainty with truthfully one of the most amazing people in the world, I have a couple of things to remind you about. First of all, check the description box. All the goods are down there. I've got resources for tonight, links to connect with LA, discount codes for various items. Y'all all love the t-shirts I'm wearing. All that stuff is down below in the description box. And of course, if you are feeling led to support this channel and everything that I am doing, there are also links where you can do that below, and you can actually do it through YouTube Super Chats, which is something new they've given me to do. And I just want to thank everybody who is doing that so far. I promise you guys, those of you guys who are giving $5 and $10 a month, you guys seriously are making a huge impact on this tiny channel and helping to pay for things so that I can keep doing what I'm doing. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Y'all are the reason this channel is growing so much. We will most likely have a Q&A if we've got time, but LA and I are on a very tight schedule tonight, so we are going to really keep to that. I want to honor his time. So go ahead and throw things in the chat. If we've got enough time, we will definitely do that. But if not, I promise we'll have him back on and he can answer questions then. And without further ado, I want to bring on L.A. Marzulli. As you guys know, he probably needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. L.A., welcome back to the program. For those that don't know you, I want to say that you are an amazing filmmaker. You've made all these documentaries. You've written books. You're an amazing communicator on your YouTube channel. And we just really appreciate everything that you have done in this space on ufology, the Nephilim, and of course, supernatural phenomenons that we are seeing all over the place. So with that said, we are diving into tonight, LA, talking about your 10 series UFO. I guess this would be like a collective of a documentary that you've filmed. And we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. I'm intrigued by this because I have not seen anything, but we will link it down below. And of course, LA's website is down below. But that's what I wanted to spend the time talking with you tonight, is kind of having the time to pull a little bit out of you on what is in this film. So is there anything you want to say before we get going?
Well, I mean, just thank you for the kind introduction. I have 34 films. We have 34 films and 14 books. So we have an hour to spend. And what I'm going to try to do with your audience is pick them up and dump them into the deep end of the pool, as it were. So, brace yourself. A lot of what you're going to hear, you probably won't hear in church, although certain aspects of the church, the body of Messiah, body of Christ, are waking up to the realization that UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away. So thanks for having me on, Lauren. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's such a pleasure to have you back. And I know we might even piggyback off of some of the things that we talked about last time you were on. And I'll even link that video in case anyone hasn't gotten to see that first time that you were on. But it's a pleasure to have you. And as I've said to you earlier, we're just all so grateful for everything that you've done in this space. And for me personally, I'll totally admit this on the air, but it weirded me out to start looking at your work all those years ago, because I just thought whenever I heard the term, aliens and UFOs all those years ago, because I didn't have an answer for it, LA, I just thought those people were crazy. I just thought that oh, they're making up stuff. Bob Lazar's nuts. That's what I thought, because I didn't know. I was never taught Genesis 6. I was never taught about the seed war. I didn't know those things. So when all of those dots started to get connected for me, I was like, oh my gosh, how did I not learn this in church? And so your work has been instrumental in helping me to learn the truth. And that's all the more reason why I want to help promote what you're doing and help people get that understanding of the truth.
Well, I appreciate that. Glory to the King. That's all I can say. Glory to the King.
Amen. For sure. For sure. Well, the first question I have for you is a little bit about the vision behind your series. So this series is incredibly extensive, and it's massive in its scope. So what inspired you to create such an extensive series on UFOs?
Well, I've been talking about the coming great deception for decades. I mean, the first book, Nephilim, was published, I believe, 1999. So this is, 26 years ago. And I was working on it from a time probably 1993, 94 forward. And it finally got published by Zondervan. It's still in print. We own the rights to it. We are actually thinking about giving part of those rights away to another publishing house. They want to make a graphic novel out of it, which is fine. There's actually 3 novels. So in the very first novel, which was called Nephilim, The Truth Is Here, there's a phrase that one of the characters actually presents to the reader, and that is that the whole UFO phenomena is the coming great deception. And so that's a huge statement. And there's a friend of mine, Brad Myers, who also claims that perhaps he came out with that before I did, or he came out with it at the same time. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that it's out there. Because when you think about this, I'll use a prop here. When these guys show up in mile-wide craft, everything changes. The world as we know it comes to a screeching halt. It's a global paradigm shift, and it happens instantaneously because of the internet and the communications that we have via satellite, Starlink, the internet. I mean, just think about what you and I are doing right now. So you're in another part of the country, and here I am in the Santa Monica Mountains on the left coast, and I can see you, you can see me. Well, you go back 40 years, none of this existed. It didn't exist. Now it's here, and we all just take it for granted. Oh, the world's always been this way. Not so fast, citizen. The world has never been this way. We are living in unprecedented times. UFO sightings are gone through the roof. So this year, the Lord there were 3 sayings that I came up with. The first one was, the UFO phenomena is the coming great deception. The second one was years later, which was UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away. The third one was, but we go up, they come down. When we go up, they show up. So the Lord, string all these together for 2025, which I had never done so. So when you take those 3 separate sentences written decades apart, you get this: UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away. This is the coming great deception. However, when we go up, they come down. When we go up, they show up. And so, that's sort of a saying for 2025. What really got me off on this whole thing was the 2017, and it's actually the Rungs of Disclosure book right behind me there. So you can see the book.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first rung on the ladder of disclosure. And for those of you who have not seen this, it was on Tucker Carlson's show when he was a host on Fox News. And so Tucker, it's a Friday night. It's the last segment on a Friday night in 2017. And Tucker introduces his next guest this way: UFOs used to be the stuff of conspiracy theory and tinfoil hat wearing guys, but maybe we shouldn't think that anymore. Commander David Fravor, a former F-18 pilot, joins us tonight, who had a close encounter, I'm paraphrasing here, with a tic-tac-shaped UFO. Commander David Fravor, welcome to the program. So you have Tucker here, Commander David Favor's in the middle, and over here you've got, at one time, classified UFO, doing all sorts of stuff, right? So Commander David Fravor is an F-18 pilot. This guy's the best of the best of the best. He's a stand-up guy. He's absolutely telling you 110% what he saw, the truth. There's no fabrication. He's not exaggerating. This is it. Well, that became the first rung on the ladder of disclosure, right behind of that book. It also was the nexus for the 10-part DVD set. And so in that, we've got testimonies from eyewitnesses, close encounters of the first kind, where the craft is light in the sky, it's moving erratically. You know something is going on, but you really can't see it. So the craft is like there, and then it does this, and then it does that, and then this and that. That's close encounters of the first kind. Close encounters of the second kind is the craft is up close and personal. Close encounters of the third kind is when you see the occupants in the craft. And close encounters of the fourth kind is when you communicate with the occupants. So that's all in the first, in 1 and 3. In 2, I sit down with two guys on the other side of the aisle. One is Francisco Carrera, who is the head of Exopolitics Portugal. And we are filming in England because Francisco was our guide. We're filming at a pub in England in the daytime. And we're just going back and forth. And the other guy is Preston Dennett, who's written numerous books on the UFO phenomena. Both of these men are on what I would call the other side of the aisle. They believe that we're being visited by extraterrestrials. So this, and it's a very open atmosphere. There's no animosity. There's there's none of that. There's just this dialogue between, my research and their research. And so that's very interesting. And then number 4 is on the abduction phenomena, where we sit down with 2 men and 2 women. And the men have been taken from a very early age. The women have been taken very early age. Both women have been impregnated by them. Both women lost their baby. And, when you start talking, this is the deep end of the pool, folks. I told you. Now you're in the deep end and you're going, oh, Marzulli, I'm drowning here. Help, 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 help. So you got to have some fun when you're doing this stuff, right? So, but it's true. Caron Wilkinson, we published her book. Where is it? Right here. Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest. There's her book. We published it. And look at the entity in the womb. Look at the black eyes. So this is not for the faint of heart, and I understand that. And people who go, well, LA, this is crazy. I mean, why would God allow this? Why does God allow Auschwitz? Why does God allow the flood? Why does God allow the fallen angels to come down and procreate the seed war, Genesis 3:15, in Genesis 6, the sons of God? It's not Masethite theory, folks. Good luck with that. If you believe that, good luck with that, because you'll never understand the biblical narrative. It's a seed war, and the seed war manifests from Genesis 6 into modernity. Caron was taken. Angela was taken. Emil was taken. Al Matthews was taken. Sperm from the men, ovum from the women. The women find themselves pregnant. In the 3rd month of their pregnancy, they're re-abducted, and that entity, hybrid entity, is taken from them and placed in an artificial womb. So number 6 in the series is on cattle mutilations. And I believe we broke the story on this. I could be wrong, but as far as I know, we were the first team of researchers, my business partner, Gil Zimmerman, and I, talk about that the idea, the fact, the medical fact that the blood from a cow, bovine blood, can be used in a human transfusion. You can take the blood from a cow and, you've got to process it, but it can be used in a human blood transfusion. Certain parts of the cow are taken. The cow is placed back in the farmer's field. It's like, what are we looking at? All the blood from the animal is drained. In my opinion, they are creating artificial wombs. So when they take the hybrid entity, in essence, a modern day Nephilim, from that woman, they place it into an artificial womb. That's conjecture, but that's also based on what the witnesses that we've talked to who have been on board and seen the vats with the hybrid children, or whatever you want to call them, the hybrid entities in different stages of gestation. I remember asking this decades ago to Chuck Missler when he was still alive. Chuck, what about the breeding program? Chuck looked right at me and said, yeah, Satan's out number 2 to 1. He's building an army. That quote is in our Watchers series. So we've got a film on cattle mutilations, abductions, close encounters of the first, second, third, and fourth kind, crop circles. We were at the Museum of Crop Circles in England, where we sat down with Francisco Carrera and Hugh Newman. Hugh Newman is a regular on Ancient Aliens. So, I'm there with the other side of the aisle. What do you guys think about this stuff? We've got an interview with Hugh that we've never shown before, which I really need to show, because he's also a ufologist, but he also, like me, believes in the ancient giants. He's written several books. So there's a thing on crop circles. Finally, we have 2 films on Roswell right here. Exoneration and In the Debris Field. And guess what? Here's a piece of metal from the debris field that we dug up, literally dug up, literally. You are looking at metal from the debris field. That's what it looks like. We've had it tested under a scanning electron microscope. The metal is folded in on itself. It should be like this. It's not. It's all folded in. And when you look at it 300 to 400 times magnification under a scanning electron microscope, you go, oh my gosh, how did that happen? So more testing needs to be done with it. But right now, we believe it's an unknown aluminum alloy. It doesn't really match anything. It's close, but we don't know. So more testing needs to be done on it. But we've done testing on 3 different pieces of the metal found in the debris field. I mean, nobody does that. I mean, it's like, people go, oh, it's a Nazi craft. Oh, it was a weather balloon. Excuse me, it was not a weather balloon. That's right. The cover story. And then, of course, here's Jesse Marcel. This is from our film on Roswell, Exoneration, holding a real weather balloon and looking at Gemma Reed like, this is a setup here. He's the fall guy. Yeah. He's the patsy.
Yeah, he was. I was going to say, he was definitely the patsy. That was I've seen his story. I'm like, oh man, that poor guy. So let me ask you this. What's the overarching message or mission that you really want people to walk away with after they go through this 10 series film on UFOs and all the things that you're kind of putting in people's view?
Well, 9 and 10 is what is the truth. And, we have a little track that we sent, but what is the truth? Where we sit down with people like George Norrie, Nick Pope, Gary Stearman, Mondo Gonzalez, just this whole Matt Friedman, Pastor Matt Friedman, and others of both sides of the aisle. And you can see very plainly that there are 2 paradigms that you can hold to. That's basically it. One is that these are extraterrestrial entities that are coming from a very far distant planet, some galaxy far, far away, Star Wars. And by the way, your generation embraces this, even if they go to church.
I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
This is what they believe.
Yeah.
The other side of the aisle, my side of the aisle, our side of the aisle, is no, these are not extraterrestrials. These are fallen angels with a very nefarious agenda. And usually when I'm talking to people, I'll say, is it okay to abduct a 5-year-old boy and stick an implant in them? And usually most people go, no, that's not a good thing. And it's not.
But then they somehow want to write the narrative that these entities are here to help us and stuff. That I know, that's wild to me too.
But that's what the other side of the aisle believe. But when I've spoken at conferences, at a New Age conference, and I've asked the people in the audience, does anybody here believe that it's a good thing to abduct a 5-year-old boy and implant them with an implant? Is that anybody? Raise your hand. Is that a good thing? Never a hand goes up. I've had people run out of the room at conferences.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
It triggers them. It totally triggers them. And I get that because, they've been abducted and they're trying to process their own abduction and they're trying to figure out what happened to me because the women are raped. You're raped. Whether you're a man or woman, you're raped. That's what it is. It's a seed war. And, people go, LA, what does this have to do with the Bible? Well, let me throw this back at you, Mr. and Mrs. Skeptic. What about Daniel 2:43? when it says their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not cleave to them. Who the heck are they? Who are they? You answer me that. And then the angel tells Daniel, Dan, seal up the words in the book until the time of the end. Men will run to and fro over the face of the earth, knowledge will increase, which is where we are. That book is open. This is exactly what we see. It's exactly what we see. The seed war, the culmination of the seed war. And why should any of it take us by surprise? But it's here and it's happening. And our 10 films show that. And I think without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. Well, and I think for me, because that's a question too that, you know, I've gotten asked too, because it's honestly really sad to me that there are pastors out there, people teaching from the pulpit who don't understand that Genesis 6 really is truly fallen angels. Or as you say, it can't be the hoochie mamas of Cain. I love how you say that. But it's sad because for me, honestly, LA, when I learned about the seed war, Genesis 3:15, and then saw what happened in Genesis 6, and then you start seeing the rest of the biblical narrative unfold, I feel like it's like the bookends of the Bible, Genesis and Revelation. So for me, the unlock, especially looking at Bible prophecy and seeing everything that we're looking at right now in our world, that is the unlock, is to see Genesis 3:15 and Genesis 6 and go, oh man, they're still at it, because Satan actually thinks he can win this thing. And so I really feel like if people get that unlock and they actually see the literal interpretation of this, then it does put so many things into perspective. And so for me, like I said, I mean, I don't know how to say it any differently, but it was the absolute unlock that put the rest of the things that I believe into the biblical narrative, the perspective to go, oh my gosh, this is it. It was like the light bulbs went on. Does that make sense?
Oh, it totally does. And it's not, and again, I'm painting with a very broad brush, and I'm part of a church and I love a church, but for the most part, it's not taught in the churches. Many pastors just shy away from this. And yet, and here's the takeaway. Your kids, your grandkids are being indoctrinated every Friday night.
Yes, come on.
And all these films and everything else, your kids and your grandkids are being indoctrinated. You are being indoctrinated into a false narrative. I mean, just think Star Wars. I mean, I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, that is decades old. I saw that before I was a Christian.
Well, but even like my husband he is huge, like a huge comic nerd, Star Wars nerd. Like, so we've seen all the Marvel films, all the DC films. But when you understand the narrative here, then you go, oh, yeah, these are demigods. That's what they're elevating, are these demigods. That's the whole, you know, and then when you dig into the creators of these things and you see that that's where their worldview came from, that's how they came up with this stuff. So that is a whole other perspective too, that, you know, you see it everywhere. So let me ask you this, from your perspective, what has been like the most shocking or groundbreaking insight that you think people will learn from your series?
I think
you might have a few.
I mean, we've sort of touched on it, but the abduction phenomena, the breeding program, the cattle mutilation stuff, everything, it all goes like this, folks. It all dovetails together. And especially the cattle mutilation film is the most disturbing film I've ever worked on, because it shows us, without a doubt, because this is a nefarious. I mean, the cow is carved up, udders are taken, sex organs are taken, the tongue is taken, it's the flesh around the eyes, ears. I mean, it's grisly. It's very disturbing, and they place it back into the farmer's field. It's deliberate. The coyotes won't touch it. The birds of prey won't touch it. Oftentimes, even flies won't get near it. It just depends. And there's usually a spike in radiation. And, you know, why do this? And there's no footprints. It's not a predator or anything else. It's not a satanic cult. It's not. And these things have been going on.
That's what I was curious about. If you had people, thank you for saying that. I was going to ask you if you had people try to say like, oh, it's probably some crazy cult in the neighborhood that, you know, that was a sacrifice of some kind. I was wondering if you've gotten pushback on any of that.
Oh, absolutely. It's not. I mean, the cows are placed in the field. There are no footprints. There's no sign of struggle. Nothing. The blood is drained. There's not a drop of blood anywhere near the where the animal is. So how's that done? I mean, you know, I mean, when you have a predator or anything, blood starts squirting out. I mean, it's everywhere, right? Not a drop anywhere. Yeah. They drain the blood. The animals completely drain the blood. And I get it. You say, a lot of people who are watching this may go, LA, what does this have to do with me being a Christian? Well, when Jesus says men will faint from fear for what's coming upon the earth, that's not a happy-go-lucky message the last time I read that. Men from faint from fear what is coming upon the earth. Even the elect would be deceived if that were possible. Satan comes with all signs of lying wonders. I mean, you put that together, and this is where we are. Satan's outnumbered 2-1, Genesis 3:15, the whole breeding program, Daniel 2:43. We are here. It's happening. And, hybrids are walking amongst us. We've got reports of them. We talk about it in our films. This is the deep end of the pool. And a lot of people don't want to hear it. But here again, your kids and your grandkids are being indoctrinated. So when these guys finally show up, guess what? They're going to believe a lie because they've been indoctrinated. And the church is not dealing with it. The church isn't going like, we need to tell our youth what's going on with this. There's another paradigm other than the ancient alien paradigm that's out there. I'm one of the lone voices. There are others, but we're very, very few in number that are talking about the coming great deception. And look, I've been thrown out of churches for this. 20 years ago.
Have you really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was the reason, one of the reasons that, a friend of mine, an acquaintance, emailed me the other day. He was talking about teaching, because he's an elder in the church, on the seed war on Genesis 3:15. He was told by the pastors and the other elders, you can't teach on this anymore. She said, LA, what do I do? I said, maybe it's time to leave that church.
Yeah, for sure. Wow.
And this,
my gosh.
It's right there. It's right. And if you were going to keep one thing away from the people, you never teach them Genesis 3:15. Why? Because Genesis 3:15 is the gateway to the rest of the biblical prophetic narrative. If we don't come to an understanding of a Genesis 3:15 narrative, thank you, Gary Stearman, then we are left going like, well, what are we looking at here? What is Noah's flood? Who are those giants? By the way, the House of David, great series. They get it. Mm-hmm. Really get it. And I'm trying to get the producer on my show to talk to him about it. Cool. Yeah, because they get it. They understand who the Nephilim are. I mean, it's really cool. It's a great series. Awesome. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I was going to say too, when you were talking about the church, I feel like that's probably the frustrating part because, again, I'm in this space to help wake people up. I have people that are, trying to explore the whole Jesus narrative and figure out if Jesus is everything that we're all claiming that he is. I've got people on this channel that are longtime believers waiting on the rapture, a whole slew of people. But I feel like LA, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the biggest problem right now is that this narrative is taking the world by storm. Now, I do feel like it's kind of died down in the last few months because there's so much news going on. But regardless, it's there. But when Christians don't have an answer for it, even though there is one, when Christians don't have an answer for it, it really doesn't help the unbeliever solve anything. And so then they're going to go and look for an answer. And the New Age has one. The New Age has the starseed theory, which we talked about last time. I mean, I had somebody comment on one of my videos the other day. I did a short piece of content on TikTok, and he mentioned that he was a star seed and all this kind of stuff. And I'm going, oh my God. I mean, and it's just like, it just proves again, like they believe this stuff. So when Christians don't have the perspective of the biblical narrative to know that like, this is literal, these were angels that did this, and they're trying to do it again, and they're succeeding at it, it really leaves a big hole.
No, it does. And, Jesus warns us, Matthew 24, Luke 21, Mark 13, that, do not be deceived, do not be deceived, do not be deceived. And, we talked before we started rolling the cameras. I turned 75 this year, and I'm part of a church, and I love the church because I'm part of it. Brothers and sisters in Christ. I mean, I get that. But I'm also aghast and somewhat dismayed at, with all the resources that we have, you would think the church, and especially right now, they're talking about all this in Congress. It was just released that, presidents have knowledge of back engineering and craft and, secret deals and all this stuff. And the church dithers. The church won't look at it. So I was complaining of the Lord about this about a week ago. I was going, Lord, I mean, it's like nobody cares. And I felt the Holy Spirit, sort of tap me on the shoulder and go, now you know how Noah felt. It's just like,
He's like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just started cracking up. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not comparing myself with Noah in any way, shape, or
No,
form.
I know. I got you. I got you.
It was sort of tongue in cheek because God really has a sense of humor. And he goes, now you know how Noah felt because nobody listened to him either. And it's true. But I've done my work. My hammer's on the plow. We have 10 films on UFOs, and we're probably not going to do another one. But then you never know. The Lord, right now we have this film coming out on the Shroud of Turin. Shroud of Turin, Holy Fire. Holy Shroud, Holy Fire. That's the new film that's coming out.
When it's done, you have to come back on. We have to talk about this because I totally believe the Shroud of Turin is Jesus. So I've watched so much on it, learned so much on it. So I know you do. So I want you to come on and definitely we'll have to have that conversation for sure. So let me ask you this. We probably hit on it a little bit, but you might have more to say here. But why do you think this series is so crucial for people to watch right now, especially with the recent UFO disclosures? And then the second piece of that was, how does it tie into Bible prophecy and the end times deception?
Well, let's go backwards. It ties in because this is the end time deception. This can change. I keep banging the drum. All it takes is one craft, but I think it's a lot more than one. I think there's multiple UFOs over the cities of the world. Why do I say that? If you look at the 2024 Super Bowl ad, and you can go on YouTube and watch it, and it's called Hello Down There. That's what it's called.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, Hello
it's crazy.
Down There.
I've seen it.
And when you look at that, it's basically it's a woman on her cell phone, and she's walking in the streets in New Jersey or New York City, and above her is a UFO. And she's reading her cell phone, Congress, extraterrestrial life, blah, 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 blah. She doesn't want, she scrolls, and now there's a cat clawing the toilet paper. She's all happy. Meanwhile, a mile-wide UFO goes right over her head above the New York skyline. Then it cuts to Paris, France. All the kids are on the lawn in front of the Eiffel Tower on their iPads, on their laptops, on their cell phones. No one's seeing anything. Then it cuts over to a diner in like West Texas or New Mexico. The UFO above the diner barking, and the dog's barking like crazy. The woman's on her cell phone, celebrity bacon diet. The guy's on his cell phone. It cuts over to Japan. They're all on their cell phones, tablets. It's a board meeting, but no one's paying attention. UFOs are buzzing all around the outside of the building. No one's paying any attention. Finally, the alien with an elongated skull, like you see back there behind me.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, right there.
Yep.
There. So the alien with an elongated skull, presses the button.
Super frustrated. Yes, he's frustrated.
Yeah. And everybody's cell phone, tablet, laptop, hello down there. They're all waving. Everyone looks up. What are they seeing? They're seeing mile-wide craft. Mile-wide craft.
So you feel like this is predictive programming? Like they know, like the people who make these commercials, I mean, because I tend to think that they dabble in the occult or more than dabble. But anyway, that's for another show. But do you feel like it's predictive programming? Like they are legit trying to get people to just fully just accept it?
110% predictive programming all day long. That's exactly what it is. And what they're showing in that minute and 30-second commercial is that it's a global event. They don't have time to hit every single city in the world, but it's Texas, New York City, Paris, France, and Japan. They're telling us that this is global. There's more than one because over the overhead, there's like just not one. They're flying all over the place. And this is how do you get to a one world religious system and a one world government? This is the way you do it. Yeah. This is how you do it. And the Bible tells us that this is what's going to happen. Well, you go back 125 years, the modern era, which we enjoy, did not exist. No planes, no phones, no cell phones, no indoor plumbing for the most part, no automobiles, no printers. I mean, everything, no typewriters. The entire world as we know it is only 125 years old. Your generation takes it for granted. My grandmother was born in 1898. She watched everything change. She watched the entire world go into this. And this is where we are. And so you have and I've talked about this the last time we were on together. You have a nuclear device go off anywhere on this planet, anywhere, because we're all connected with Starlink and all the satellite systems and everything else, that everything changes because the entire globe is looking at the greatest fear, a nuclear event. And everybody's wondering, are we next? And that's when they show up. That's when, in my opinion, that's conjecture, but that's that's when they show up.
So do you think, because obviously from what I feel like I've heard you say, because I watch so much of your stuff, but like obviously aliens didn't take us, Jesus did. The big concept for us is that, you know, the big piece of this is going to happen after the rapture. But the question I have for you is, do you think that some of these entities, we might see them before the rapture and that become normalized? Like, because I know, like you're already talking about, there's hybrids that walk among us. I mean, I've seen some of the people you've interviewed, and I'm going, holy moly! Like some of the stories at the grocery store with that entity and I'm going, whoa, this is crazy. So, do you think that could become more normalized, especially because the government, at least the U.S. government, is doing so much like push for disclosure?
Yeah, I think we're moving towards it step by step by step. I think the halls of Congress, with all due respect to our representatives, you know, they're talking to a lot of military people, which is fine, but they need to understand that there's a whole other side of this. And that's where I come in, people like me. There's not many of us. But if I'm right, and I believe with all my heart that I am, these are not extraterrestrial, they are interdimensional. And this is the coming great deception. This is how you get to a global one world government and a one world religious system. Because you have a nuke that goes off, it creates the greatest amount of fear. They show up, hey, and they will say this: we created all life on this planet. We seeded the life on this planet. So all the evolutionists, all the Darwinists are jumping for joy. See, we told you there is no God, that we were seeded here. So we were seeded here, we were genetically manipulated. They started the world's religions, the world's civilizations. Now it's a critical juncture in human history. You know, our space brothers are back to usher mankind into a golden age. Now we're going to have a one world government and a one world religious system. We will show you. Listen to this. This is from our tract that we give to people. Some of the creator gods were master geneticists, and it's been our intention to expand your ideas of who your gods are, because those gods will be returning to Earth. Now, I'm not making this up. That's from channel information. From them. And, you know, there it is. I mean, it's like they're telling us exactly what's going to happen. And this is where I get so
they're communicating with entities and demons that are giving them that information to tell you and I and everyone else what they want us to believe. Yeah.
And I'm not making this up. And there it is. That's written decades ago. And it's channel information by an entity. We are the Pleiadians. I don't believe that for a minute, because channel information, that's an occult technique. We're forbidden to do that. So you start putting all this together, you know, this is the coming great deception. I mean, I keep banging. This is how you get to the book of Revelation, where it talks about the global government, the global one world religion. I mean, I did a whole presentation on that at Prophecy Watchers a few months ago, and a packed out house, and I was on fire. I mean, I was just, and I'm still on fire, because, you know, you're trying to get the church to go, wait a minute, you know, what was written will come to pass. What was foretold is unfolding. And that's what we see. What was foretold thousands of years ago is unfolding right in front of us. And, you know, it's like the church does a great disservice to its congregations by not addressing this and not looking at it and not giving its young people, especially the young people, the alternative view. Shame on the church. Shame on those pastors who won't address it. And for the most part, they won't address it. Let me wrap this up by saying this little segment that we just did.
Yeah.
When you go to 2 Kings, I believe it's chapter 6. It's either 6 or 16. Forgive me. And most of us know the story. So Gehazi is there with his master, the prophet Elisha. They're completely surrounded by the Syrian army. And Gehazi's freaked out. We're going to die. It's over. And I get that because he's seeing with his natural eyes. And Elisha says, Lord, open his eyes. And Gehazi goes out of a tent. And what does he say? What does Gehazi say? So he looks up above the Syrian army. What does he see? Chariots of fire above the Syrian army. What is a chariot of fire? Remember, Gehazi has a vocabulary. And he's trying to describe what he's seeing with the limited vocabulary that he has. Up to that point, he's never seen anything in the sky, ever. And so he's got two things. He knows what fire is, because that's their source of light. They don't have incandescent light bulbs. They have torches. They have fire.
Yep.
So they have that. That's it. Okay? And then the mode of transportation is a chariot. He looks up above the Syrian army and he sees a chariot of fire. So the next question people will go, well, why do the good angels need chariots? This is the whole basis of a book I'm working on called Supernatural Technology in the Bible.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's right there.
A good one.
I mean, there is technology in the Bible. I'll just give you one. So Adam and Eve are booted out of the garden. The cherubim are standing there guarding the east gate, which immediately begs the question, why not the north, south, and west gate? Why only the east gate? And there, placed between them, is a flaming sword which turns every which way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Star Wars. I know.
It's a lightsaber. What is a flaming sword? It's a lightsaber. Where do you think they got it from? More than likely, it's a lightsaber. So the technology is there. And this is the deep end of the pool. If you disagree with that, that's fine. But then you tell me, what is a flaming sword that turns every which way? It doesn't say there's an angel holding the flaming sword, turning it. That sword is turning every which way by itself. So you get close to this thing, and it's like, you're not getting past this. You're not getting past this.
Nope. It's so funny. I literally was just reading that in the Bible today. I'm going through Genesis and Revelation right now. And I was just reading that about the East Gate today. And I was like, wow, I wonder what that sword looked like. So that's pretty cool. Okay. So let me ask you this. After creating this series, did your own perspective on UFOs or even spiritual warfare shift in any way?
Well, it just becomes more, more real. I mean, the enemy hates what we do.
Yeah.
Is always pressing in, always looking for a weakness. I have to walk a very tight trail with the Lord. I've learned not to get ahead of him no matter what. Never get ahead of him, and to try to take every thought accountable. And we have a little thing that we do every night. He wakes me up at 1 or 2 in the morning. Gee, that sounds familiar, right? Samuel, right? Being awakened at 1 or 2 in the morning, and I recite all my scripture that he's given me to memorize. I raise my hands and I worship, and then the Spirit of the living God comes over me, and which is a very wonderful thing every night, going on for about almost 4 years now. It's only been 4 years that this started, and the first time it happened, I went, Lord, what is that? You? I'm freaking out. What is this? I'm worshiping, and all of a sudden, his spirit comes over me, and it's a wonderful feeling. But the first time it happens, it's like, what is this? Right? Now it's every night, and I'm not anybody special, but I mean, out of the entire 8 billion people on the planet, how many Christians are even talking about this? And see, the problem is we have here, Lauren, is that when this happens, it's too late. When they show
for sure.
When they show up, it's too late. And there's that saying that we talked about. I've got all these little props on my desk. So here it is. So we go up. There's a little LA.
Oh, I love it. Is that you? That's great.
That's me going up, and then they come down. And what will they say? Well, gee, Once again, the Pleiadians have already told us exactly what they'll say. There is a potential for many people to leave the planet in an afternoon. The people who leave the planet during a time of Earth changes do not fit here any
Do not
longer.
belong here. Yep.
And they are stopping the harmony of the Earth. I'm not making this up. I mean, there it is.
No, that's Barbara
other side
Marciniak, man. Yeah, that quote from Barbara. Crazy, crazy. I've quoted that so much because, again, I have a lot of people that I know that are involved in New Age, and then there's people that, again, don't believe in the rapture. So it's like, well, that's fine, but here's a New Ager that channeled a demon to get this message right here.
There it is, right there.
That, yeah, that's what she said, and we know this is not an entity from the Lord. This is a demonic entity, so it's telling you the same thing that I'm telling you, but just a different realm, a different side of it, the flip side of the coin. So, well, let me ask you this, LA. Do you have a couple minutes for questions? It's 7:43, so we have.
I do. Yeah, let's roll with some questions. That's fine.
Okay, Keegan, if you want to send those to me, and then I'm pulling those up on my email right now. And then LA, let me have you do this while we're grabbing the questions. Where do you want people to go to get their hands on their series and how they can support your work? Where's the best place to go?
Well, there's two things you can do. lamarzulli.com. Everything is there. All the books, all the DVDs. You can buy hard copy DVDs, but if you're under 30 or under 40, you're going to want to stream them. So you go to streaming.lamarzulli.net. Streaming, like a stream, streaming.lamarzulli.net. All the videos are there for $5 a piece, $4.99. You can watch anything. And I mean, it's like less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, for crying out loud. So there you go.
Yes. And there's better places to get coffee than Starbucks for those that care. Okay. Keegan said there's 3 questions. I'm just waiting for him. My email is refreshing. Let me see if I had anything else here that we didn't hit. I didn't. Anything else you want to say while I'm waiting on that? I love when technology, here we go, one of these moments where it slows down on us in real time.
Congress is talking about all this. The Daily Mail, once or twice a week, is showing, in fact, I'll be doing a show on this probably tomorrow, talking about that, all these memos, the presidents. Look, this is what people need to wake up. That's all I can say. You need to wake up and understand that this is the coming great deception. These are not friendly entities from some distant star system.
No, agreed. Okay, so first question here. This is from Keith. Have either of you heard about UF disclosure at an Air Force base this May? I have heard it's supposed to be at Wright-Patterson Base in Dayton, Ohio. I feel like I heard that somewhere, but honestly, guys, I'm in so much news, it's hard to know. LA, do you know anything about that?
I don't know anything about it. I've heard rumblings. Wright-Pat is where all the debris from Roswell went. How do we know that? Because we've had pilots that actually flew with debris, and that's where it went. We've got people like Walter G. Haught, who was stationed in Roswell, deathbed confession. It's in our film on Roswell, and I will show it to you again. So there's Roswell right there, right? Mm-hmm. And here we are in the debris field with a metal detector, and we show the piece of metal coming out of the field. So Walter G. Haught talks about this in our film, Deathbed Confession. He was at Roswell, and he handled the wreckage, and they passed it around a room. General Ramey was there. No one had ever seen anything like it. No one knew what it was. It's not a weather balloon. It's not some back-engineered Nazi craft. It's not. It's an extraterrestrial, interdimensional entity that crashes. You would call it extraterrestrial. Anything that originates outside of Earth is in essence extraterrestrial. But when I use that, I mean interdimensional. And this thing crashes, and the wreckage is there, and Jesse Marcel Sr. handles it, and Jesse Marcel Jr. handles it when his father brings it back. And we're in the debris field, and we find a piece of the wreckage. There it is. They didn't get it all.
Did y'all get ran out of there?
Did it rain that day?
No, don't you guys get ran out of there when you guys were at Roswell doing all your metal detector work? Did y'all get did any of the black vans show up or anything? Okay, I was wondering if you guys got ran out.
It's in a very remote area. To give you an idea, you're on a 4-lane highway driving out of Roswell for about an hour. Then you make a left down this country road, 2 lanes, nothing but farms all around. Then you make another left on a cattle road. it's gravel and dirt. And you drive on that for about a half an hour. Then you come to a cattle gate and you open the cattle gate, and now you're four-wheel driving. You're up this thing. Finally, you get to the debris field and you get out of your car. There's nothing there. You know, it's not like parts of a UFO, nothing like that. It's
Okay.
but it is in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing around as far as you can see. And we were there with metal detectors. We were there when we were filming. We had batteries in our camera, right? Fully charged batteries. They drain just like that.
Drain.
Down to
Yeah,
zero.
and that
And then on film, by the way, we're the only film company, according to my friend Chuck Sikowski, we are the only film company ever to show the metal actually coming out of the ground, digging, getting the hit on the metal detector, then digging it, and then here it is, and it's in the palm of my hand. I mean, I'm looking at it. We're the only film company. I want to thank Frank Kibler. He was our guide along with Chuck Sikowski. And, you know, those men had two metal detectors and they pulled out on film 2 pieces of metal that day, which was unheard of. We're the only film company. And it's not because we're so great. It's because the Lord, we prayed to the Lord that he would show us, and he showed us.
Come on.
He allowed us to see it. So all the glory goes to the King.
Amen. Okay. Were angels in their original form created to procreate? What is the justification to believe that they can procreate when they fell?
Well, why do you think Genesis 6 is there? Who are the sons of God? The sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were beautiful. You got to remember something. Up until Eve, there were no women anywhere. Let that sink in. Eve is the first. So the angels, read Genesis 6, the sons of God. Well, who are the sons of God? Oh, those are the righteous line of Seth. Well, excuse me, doesn't say anything about Seth in that passage, does it? It says the sons of God. And the Hebrew is B'nai HaElohim, which always refers to the angelic host. And the women of earth are not the hoochie mamas of Cain. So it's not the godly line of Seth marrying the hoochie mamas, creating, it's not that at all. The fallen angels procreate with the women of earth. That's an absolute fact. They take wives. It's plural.
Yeah, it says they take them. And second to that, you mentioned it, but whoever is asking this question, Hudson, I think was your name, you can go and do a study on the sons of God and you will see how it's used in that passage and other passages where it's referring to the angelic realm. Also, if you go back to my first episode of Voices of Certainty, Mondo Gonzalez was on here and this is exactly what we talked about. And he talked about, because that was a question that came up, why in the world would they do that? Well, God gave them free will just like he gave us. And they chose to rebel. 33%, there's that number, 33, 1/3 of the angels decided that they were going to rebel against their heavenly creator and come down here, thought the daughters of men were beautiful. And I would even state, LA, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously this is like after the fall, but guaranteed the daughters of men back then were even more beautiful than the daughters of men now, because not as much corruption had happened then as it has now because of, you know, all the years that have gone by. So you can go and do a study on this. And I'm telling you, if you follow, we'll just follow the trail, you will come up with angels every single time. And you will see that this is a supernatural story. I would also say this for people that want to make this about the hoochie mamas of Cain and the godly line of Seth, as LA puts it, it's really doing a disservice to the supernatural narrative that is in our Bible. And that's the other thing that really frustrates me about that side, is because it's like, man, again, just like you mentioned earlier, LA, you're going to come up really empty-handed when you start getting into Bible prophecy, and so much of this stuff isn't going to make sense. And this is how people get off in the weeds and how we get all these different views of eschatology and, well, it can't be this and it can't be that, because we're just not taking the plain state of scripture. We're not taking it in the literal, historical, grammatical way that it's written. And if we will do that every time, the narrative that LA and I are talking about, it comes up 100% of the time.
You know, and something else to think about, that when you read the historian Josephus, and when you think of Jesus warning that it'll be like the days of Noah. So let's start with Jesus. Everyone knew exactly what the days of Noah was. They knew that the angels procreated with the women. That's the whole thing. The Nephilim, Goliath, they all knew this. The bones of the Nephilim, according to Josephus, are openly on display in Jerusalem at the time of Christ. Everybody knows this. The stupid Sethite theory isn't invented until a couple hundred years later.
Yeah.
And now it's taught as fact. Drives me nuts.
I know. Same.
Everyone knew exactly what it was. The fallen, and people say, how can fallen angels procreate? Look, we don't know. They can shapeshift for one, but they also, when Jesus appears with the angels to Abraham, they sit down and they have a meal. When the two angels go into Sodom and Gomorrah, right?
Yes, for Lot. Yeah.
To rescue Lot, the men of the city want to have sex with them. What the heck is that about? You know,
Right.
you got to look at it. You got to peel back the layers and realize that there's a very dark underbelly to everything we're looking at. A very dark and nefarious underbelly that's manifesting now. It will lead to the Great Deception. It will lead to the 7-year period of the time of Jacob's trouble. It will lead to the rise of the Antichrist, the global government, the global one world religious system, the mark of the beast. When you take that mark, you are no longer human. And that's why you wind up in a lake of fire, because it will change your DNA.
Come on.
It will change your DNA. And that's where
And I also wanted to mention too, in the New Testament, Paul talks about, pay attention because you could be entertaining an angel unaware, or I think he says unawares. That sounds funny to my brain, but the point is that means like you could be out, your car got a flat tire one day and ain't nobody on the street. And then all of a sudden somebody shows up. LA, you have a story. Actually, this is a really good one about an angel. When you were in Washington, Missouri, at Riverbend Calvary Chapel, that's where Lance and I first saw you back in 2021, Pastor Steve Thomas. You told this story about this couple that lived on a farm and their farm was like impenetrable. And somebody came up to their house with the Walmart bag. Do you remember the details of that story?
Yeah, it's just amazing. So,
okay, tell it. Because this goes hand in hand with what something about angels.
So the husband and wife are homeschooling their kids. They live on this 5-acre or 2-acre, whatever it was. I think it's 5 acres. They've got guard dogs. They raise, they do a lot of rescue animals. They've got, so it's like a little farm with all these horses and llamas and just all sorts of stuff, right? And so there's no way someone can get from the road, they got a long driveway, up to the house and knock on the door. Ain't just not going to happen. But it happens. Knock on the door. The wife looks out, runs upstairs, get her husband. There's somebody here. They're all freaked out. Husband comes down. Can I help you? So the guy's got this little plastic bag with a water bottle in it. And he goes, I forget the city, but he goes, yeah, I'm headed to such and such a place. I wish I could remember the name of it. You would recognize it instantly. And that's like a 3-hour drive. He's got a little bottle of water. And what he says something to the man, who immediately runs back and tells his wife. Why? Because the husband and wife have been praying to the Lord about the rapture of the church. They've been praying specifically about the rapture. Lord, when will it be? Why did you allow all this to go on? And they're like really seeking the Lord. So now this guy, they knock on the door. The wife goes up, gets the husband. Husband comes down. Can I help you? Yeah, I'm headed up to, 3-hour drive, but I'm walking with a little water bottle like this, and the guy's going like, how did he get here? And the guy goes, yeah, I was walking here and, the Lord told me to stop in and give you an answer to your prayer. And he's going like, excuse me? And the guy goes, yeah, the Lord told me to tell you it won't be long. It won't be long. So the guy goes back in the house to tell his wife this, comes back out. The guy's gone. The guy's gone. There's no way he can get from the house to the fence and down the driveway. So he runs down, looks on the road. There's like nobody there. Nobody there. And that, in my opinion, is an angelic story. And I had one. I've had two. But I've had two. Actually 3. Now that I'm thinking about it. I was running one day.
Too. I've seen an angel myself. I've had a really cool story about that too when I was a little girl.
Okay, that's great. I had one I was skiing and spring skiing by myself. Peggy was on another slope. So I'm going up and down and up and down, up on Mammoth Mountain. There's nobody there. Nobody there. So it's a quad chair. So, there's enough for 4 people to sit. So all of a sudden, I'm getting ready to go on. Chair's coming around, pick me up. And I hear, hey, mind if I join you? I go, no, come on up. So this guy comes up. It's Kris Kringle in a ski suit. Got white hair, white beard. It's Kris Kringle. Skin tight, ski suit with all these, I've been to Vail and Arapahoe Basin and Winter Park. I mean, he's got all these medallions. He goes, how many days have you had skiing this year? I go, 12. And he goes, oh, I've got 123, which means he's skiing every day. And he goes, wow. I guess you must be working, right? And I go, yeah, I'm working. What do you do? Oh, I make documentary films. What on? And I'm go, here we go. I'm trying to take a vacation. I go, I make documentary films on the Nephilim, figuring he has no idea what Nephilim are. Now he's going to ask me what the Nephilim are. He doesn't do that. He goes, have you ever heard of Itchy Boots? I go, Itchy Boots? No. Oh, she's got 1.2 million followers on her YouTube channel. I go, well, wow. She's way out of my league. I don't know this guy. Never met this guy. By this time, I've got brain fog. I'm starting to wonder, like, what's going on here? Why is this guy? What's going on? So I'm here. He's here. There's 2 empty seats between us, and he reaches over, and he touches me on my right shoulder, and he goes, "You're doing the right thing. Keep doing what you're doing. You're on the right track." He does it 3 times. He doesn't keep his hand on my shoulder. Every statement he goes, he taps me on the shoulder like that. Keep doing what you're doing. You're on the right track. It's just like, and I'm going, by the time I get off the chairlift, he skis in front of me and he's gone. Never see him again. And I just go straight ahead going like, what was that? And what just happened?
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. It was an angel. And that night is when we came up with the show, Supernatural Confrontations, right here on YouTube.
That's wild. That's wild. Well, I'll tell mine real quick and then I'll let you go. So my brother needed a heart transplant when my mom was pregnant with him. She found out that he had a deformed left ventricle, and the doctor said he can have a ton of surgeries his whole life. Your best choice is to abort him, or he can undergo a heart transplant. And my parents were like, well, this is a no-brainer. Abortion isn't even a thought, but we'll do the transplant. So I'm 7 and I'm in 1st grade, and I'm out at the water fountain to get a drink. And all of a sudden I look over because I just see this massive amount of light and this big being with wings and everything.
Wow.
And yeah. And so I look over, and it didn't freak me out, because again, it's like when you're a kid, you just kind of whatever. So I looked over at it and it said, Lauren, tell your mother that Isaiah is going to be okay. And I said, okay. And then this girl walked out of the classroom and walked through it, and it disappeared. So I get in the car that afternoon. My mom comes to pick me up from school. She goes, hey, baby, how was your day? And I was like, oh, really good. I have a message for you. And I told her, and she looked white as a ghost.
Wow.
So years later, we were reminiscing about that story. I think I was maybe 12 or 13, maybe a little younger. She's like, you know what? She goes, I can tell you something now because you're old enough to know. And I was like, okay. She's like, literally 7 days prior to that, 1 week, 7. She said, I was asleep on the couch, and she said, I felt something sit down on my feet. And she said, I opened my eyes and it started to manifest. And she said, I got scared and said, oh, Jesus, take it away. And it disappeared. And she said, no joke, 7 days to the day, you come home and tell me that an angel shows up to you to tell me your little brother's going to be okay.
Wow.
Is that wild or what?
Oh, I love it. I just, the supernatural is real, and it manifests to people like you and me. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good.
Yep. Yeah. So, well, LA, we've got to honor everybody's time here, but thank you so much for coming on. I definitely want to have you back when we do the whole Shroud of Turin thing. And
Sure.
For anybody who's listening here tonight, we appreciate you guys being on here and being in the chat. And I think we'll call it. So with that said, keep your eyes on the sky and keep your ear listening for that shofar. We will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.
Folks, this is The Coming Great Deception. UFOs are real burgeoning and not going away. The Coming Great Deception. This is what it is. But we go up, they come down. When we go up, they show up. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again pretty soon with another, hopefully, informative and exciting show right here on our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.